Hello everyone, and welcome to a new season of F.Y.I. Uxbridge. I'm your host, Barry Giles. I am the station manager here at Uxbridge Community Television. F.Y.I. Uxbridge is a program about the people, places, and events that are happening here in our town of Uxbridge. And with me today, I have Connor Robichaud and Gabe Trevor from the PMRPC. And of course, my guest to my left, who needs no introduction, Mr. Mike Alarani, who is our economic developer and community planner. Planner?
Yeah,
Same thing.
Good.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us and so on. I usually start off the show. Why don't you guys introduce yourself and give us a kind of a rundown of what the PMRPC does?
Yeah, so I'm Connor Robichaud. I'm a regional projects coordinator at CMRPC. That's the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. We work with Worcester and 39 surrounding communities. We go as far up as Barry, all the way down to Blackstone down in this region. So cover a wide, pretty diverse region. We offer a variety of services to support towns, from transportation planning to economic development planning to housing planning. We've done a heck of a lot around COVID assistance. I've been working with public health officials in the last couple of years, and we have been fortunate enough to work on this program from the Baker administration, the local rapid recovery program, which is aimed at identifying issues related to the COVID pandemic and downtowns in Massachusetts. So that's what we're here mostly to talk about today, in addition to the Main Street initiative. So I'll let Gabe introduce himself.
My name's Gabe Trevor. I'm an assistant planner at CMRPC. I work closely with Connor on several projects, a lot of stuff in Uxbridge. I do a lot of work on land use and planning issues and zoning issues, but you know, everyone at CMRPC kind of works on a bit of everything at some point. So,
Great.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some of the projects that are going on presently that you're working on with Mr. Gallerani here.
Yeah, well, first props to Michael for all of his work he does in hustling grants for the town. He keeps us working in Uxbridge quite a bit on a lot of things. The things we're most focused on now, we just wrapped up this past week the local rapid recovery plan. It was a 6-month process where we came in, did a diagnostic on a specific area. We're calling it's the Main Street District. It runs from the Northbridge town line down 122 to about the district court, and along there covers the residential, commercial, industrial properties. And we're looking at a variety of things to try to bring that district to the next level economically. So we started with a lot of desktop research, demographics, market trends, did some site walks, which are always really fun as a planner, I think. Looking at sidewalks, windows, lighting, making sure, ticking all the boxes around, making it an inviting sort of place for people to come spend their money, start their businesses. We've done some community engagement. We've had to be creative about that through COVID. So we've done some recorded sessions with invited guests, posted them on UCTV. Thank you very much for doing that.
You're welcome.
And then we've also done some community surveys, one for the businesses downtown, and the other one broadly for everybody in town, which got 300 responses. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the survey?
Yeah, so let me over 300 responses. Like Connor said, that was primarily focused on community members, and basically covered 3 main sections, sort of asking about the built environment. So like Connor was talking about with our site visits, kind of looking at the roads and facades and that sort of thing. Economic development, so what sort of businesses people want to see in town, what their issues are in town. And then finally looking at municipal building reuse. So with the McCloskey building kind of up for grabs, kind of seeing what people in the town were interested in looking at. And yeah, over 300 responses in a town, Uxbridge's size is really good. Yeah.
That's great. Mike, let's talk about your involvement with this project and so on. They started with the survey, and we received the information. What's the next step for you?
This goes back a little bit, and hats off to these guys and all of the CMRPC team, that if we didn't have them as the way to stretch our office, even town hall, we wouldn't. There's no way we could even think about doing most of the stuff that we get done. So the Main Street initiative encompasses the LRRP as well as other pieces of this, and the concept was to just reinvent everything Main Street, from, as Connor said, from the town line with Northbridge down to the site that will be the Big Y, which is the Cock and Kettle property. And we're looking at everything from zoning to the look and feel of all the buildings, what businesses we're missing, what we want, the type of activities that we should have going on, special events. There's so much room now to be creative with so many different things with our Main Street. And first and foremost is making the big decision about whether we're going to move Town Hall and the Senior Center over to the McCloskey, because then that triggers a whole set of dynamics with the activity that repurposing those two significant buildings.
Right.
And we were fortunate, as part of the team with CMRPC, we were able to bring in Boston Architectural College, and they have a team of students, upper class and grad students. They'd come in and have done another piece of this and started to do some of the what-if design work.
Right.
And then on top of that, I had some grant money that I was able to bring in one of those grad students for the summer, and she looked at a handful of buildings, 4 or 5 buildings, and that she'll get those to me soon. Just reinventing the buildings, the facades, because the next piece that triggers is a facade program. So then I got to go find the money to support that program. And then hopefully we create a business loan program, and again, that's something I'd partner up with the banks, and hopefully be able to get people availability of money for people to start up or expand,
Right.
And address problems, and then just reinventing the sense of place. That's especially if we go back to what I was talking about, the McCloskey building, and then triggering Town Hall and the library. We then control a lot of the design in terms of how the sense of place, especially in the core of Main Street. The other pieces, I won't say will follow, because that's kind of minimizing their importance. It's not. They're very important, but
Right.
as goes the core, the rest will follow.
Right.
And the zoning that we hope to push along is will bring mixed-use development, so that you'll start to see more residential mixed in with commercial. And that's kind of a throwback to the way it was 100 years ago, that people lived on Main Street and worked on Main Street, did
Right.
business on Main Street. And in the days of, big boxes have gone by the wayside, and now everything being delivered to your doorstep.
Right.
Small businesses we have to be very careful of how we treat them, and make sure that we position them to be able to survive through this next wave. And I've seen it. I hate to say it, but I've seen a lot. I lived through the malls and the big boxes and what that did to Main Streets. And we've got to look at this Main Street and make sure that we position it so that we strengthen it, so it's pretty much bulletproof from anything that can happen. All the new changes. And I think we can. This definitely we can. And again, great partners, and that partnership extends to others. There's the private side of the community, the residents, and some of the business owners that are stepping up as part of this process. And people are interested and are getting excited because we're moving along.
Right. That's great. So it sounded like first step was the survey and getting the information from the community. So what's the next step in the process?
Well, before we get to that,
Okay.
I skipped a part about the big portion of the plan that I think people will be most interested in. We came up with 10 project recommendations, working with subject matter experts provided by the state. So we had folks who were experts in transportation, people that were experts in events on building reuse. So we worked with them to craft 10 actionable projects, and those are all in the report. I'm sure that's linked somewhere on the website. Yeah.
I don't think I've posted it yet, but I will.
And the next step, as I see it, is the community meeting coming up on the 23rd. We should plug that.
Yep.
So we're going to be talking about all those recommendations and really trying to take them the next step as far as the McCloskey project goes. Our next step is really digging deeper into the design of the building. So having what they call programmatic design, looking at what each portion of the building makes the most sense to be.
Right.
You know, this section next to the gym is maybe senior center. This section lends itself to being a clerk's office. Having those conversations, and also looking at what the market is like. You know, if there's extra space, if we're able to do all those community amenities that people are indicating that they want. Looking at what could the market absorb. You know, we've seen some design from the Boston Architectural College, and they're fantastic. Can't say enough about them. Just a really preliminary thing about, you know, you've got this town hall in a really crucial location on Main Street. What if you had the front that was, you know, a lot more glass, and inside was a cafe or retail that was drawing in foot traffic, and you had offices on the second floor, and then maybe a community space up on the top floor. Something like that could really activate, I think, that downtown in a meaningful way while you still have all your municipal functions housed in a great building in McCloskey just down the street.
Great. All right. Are there any projects going on right now, or are we just pretty much in the planning phase?
Very much in the planning phase, but there are projects going on. Yeah, you know, like the Farnham House, we did the study, and that's an important project because it's going to set the tone for our historic preservation, and that's something that the town meeting is going to be considering in a few weeks. It's very important that we restore that property and bring it back to life and activate it. It sets the tone for who we are and why we are. Okay. And then you got the Taft Trust, the Taft Memorial Trust, the Arthur Taft Memorial Trust, that bought the old Unitarian Church and are spending enough money to restore it. They're spending serious money, and depending on which way they go with it, but it could be part of the destination economy that we strive to build, which goes hand in hand with the vision for the McCloskey, where we take the auditorium and make it into a performing arts center. So if you have the Unitarian Church building become another alternative, a smaller venue that complements that, then suddenly there's a different feel to Uxbridge's weekend and evening economy. Okay. And so then that drives restaurant development, cafe development. You know, the town hall is a great example of what, if you saw the scheme, schematic of what they think is possible. It's amazing. We haven't even looked at what's possible with the senior center site. But it's just a domino effect, and then the private investment. You look at what we can do with those buildings to make it more of a Hallmark downtown. You know, everybody that's ever watched a Hallmark movie knows what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I've never heard that term.
Yeah.
You know,
Actually, they just shot one in Worcester a few years ago, I believe.
Yeah.
they're shooting everything in Worcester these days. It seems like, although they were in the McCloskey building.
We're catching up. But
so all of it should dovetail together, you know. But there's a whole lot of planning that goes on. We're not going to be ready to take it to town meeting, any significant part that needs town meeting approval, at no time before next spring, and probably next fall. So a year out. But all this planning work that goes on ahead of time, and there's pieces that'll fall into place if funding becomes available. We'll activate those quickly. But you can hurry up and make mistakes, or you can do it slowly and react to, you know, the pandemic alone was a game changer. But you know, like I say, home delivery, the pandemic taught us all how to just push buttons on our phone and order anything you want, and it's there, you know, sometimes within hours. And so how do businesses adapt, small businesses adapt to that. The one thing is, other than I guess DoorDash and whatever else the others that are available, people still going to go out to eat.
Yes.
You know that, so
Yep.
restaurants
As
and specialty food
we
stores.
get control of this
Yeah.
pandemic and
Yeah.
things like that, we'll start seeing people emerging from their homes and away from their keyboards
Yeah.
and things like that.
I mean, you got to see local breweries have been such a boon to downtowns
Yeah.
more than
Right.
anything else. You see that in the planning field. Throw a brewery at it. They don't
Yeah.
seem to fail.
Yeah,
And
that's
if
a good
you, if you look at the survey, I mean, there's a real desire in town for basically any sort of entertainment, anything to do on the weekends or at nights, like Mike was saying.
Right.
And really, McCloskey, the possibilities that McCloskey brings, either moving town services there and opening up space downtown. If there's space left over, there's all sorts of private things that could go in there. People in the survey responded to, like an indoor market. There's a kitchen space at McCloskey that could be used for something. Performance space, athletic space. I mean, it really, even if McCloskey was smaller and you were just moving the municipal buildings there, that would be one thing. But then you have extra space that might, we'll see what's possible. But
Right.
there's a lot of possibilities, and people seem to have an open mind about,
Right.
what they want to see coming in, and it all kind of works together. Because McCloskey could also help with a lot of traffic issues, especially during the day. If
Yes.
people
Right.
are trying to go to
Parking
municipal
issues
buildings,
and
right?
accessibility to municipal building and,
Right.
and things like
You have
that.
that huge parking lot, any sort of meetings, or you're not filling up downtown with that traffic.
Maybe even outdoor meetings, right?
Right.
That's-
We've had those there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a great segue in terms of the McCloskey and how important it is to the future of Uxbridge. When you envision that property, and it's 110,000 square feet, give or take a few feet, and you think about it, the gym being the community recreation, senior center, town hall, performing arts center. But underneath it all, you've got this incredible capability of building out a commercial kitchen that can actually become a 24-hour-a-day commercial kitchen that during the day it's there to serve the senior center and the Meals on Wheels program. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, if you've got a food truck, you need a place to
prep it,
prep it
everything.
all, and
Yep.
you'll pay for that privilege. Those are very attractive all over the country and very successful. And that, I can't speak any less about the possibility of the Performing Arts Center because you have the shell of it. It's an auditorium. It's just dress it up and it's good to go.
Yep.
Put the sound system in and we're ready.
And lights
and lights and right,
seats
but you build it out and you're good to go.
Yeah.
And then the possibility of either a public library moving there or a history research room library that we see as part of the lower level, and also emergency operations center. This town right now, if there's a dramatic emergency, an event, it's at the police station, and it's not insulated against that event, whatever's happening. You can create an emergency operations center there that would be the envy of everybody in the region, and actually, we would expect that others probably would be seeking refuge there during an emergency to be able to run their emergencies. So, there's a lot of thinking going into this. We're not making it up on the fly. We conceptualize different ideas. We have, again, great partners that help us conceptualize that and figure it out. And if something doesn't work or isn't desired, we move on to the next thing. And I think at the end of the day, the price tag's a little.
It will be.
First hear it,
I'm sure there'll be some
it's-
sticker shock
it's-
involved.
but we're looking at how do we pay for that now? How, we'll know. It won't be here's what we're proposing for the McCloskey without telling people
Right.
this is how it's going to be paid for, and
Right.
this is the strategy, and we'll get there. At the end of the day, we put it all together, and then people have to make the decision whether it be
Who
the
makes that
elected.
decision?
Well, ultimately, it'll be the voters will vote whether they're going to want to pay the price to get it done. But again, in a vacuum, you'd say, really? But when you look at the full picture, and again,
Right.
that's how we're presenting it. This is a full picture. And then, I go back to the Farnham House. that's $1 million project. And everybody just gets very surprised, if not shocked, by the fact it's $1 million to restore a 300-year-old building.
Right.
And perfectly restore it, not just
Right.
not Joe with a hammer and,
Right,
and
exactly.
a truck full
we
of
actually
plywood.
covered that meeting where they presented their findings, and I mean,
Yeah.
they went to the extent of, I mean, down to how many layers of paint on
Yeah.
the walls and
Oh,
what
wow.
year and things like that.
Yeah,
There were.
and they drilled
and-
into the timbers to figure
Yeah.
out exactly how old the
Yeah.
timbers are. And some of it was surprising that
Yes,
that house wasn't there
right.
when they had that town meeting to
Right.
to decide to make Uxbridge its own community. But the site is, and that house was built soon thereafter, within
Right.
decades, and it was the same family. So some of the timbers date all the way back, and
Right.
that's important. So that to you be able to have that building restored and become part of the, not just the historic fabric, but the educational fabric. I can envision us doing a summer camp, a history camp,
Yeah.
where kids are able to come and not just learn about the farmhouse, but Blackstone Valley history,
Right.
and how important this area is to the American story.
Right.
So, but all that's only possible if we invest the kind of money.
Right.
But again, singularly, you'd look at that and say, why? But when you look at the full picture, you'd say, well, why not?
Right.
And it's easy for the planners, because that's what we do. We
Right.
go, what if and why, and maybe we ask ourselves why not, but very rarely, because our assumption is that yes, and we just try to make it the best it can be.
Right.
Connor?
I want to bring it back to something you mentioned before, because I mean the idea really is to build something that's responsive to what people are asking for in town. And you mentioned the senior center meals that could come out of the new kitchen. I visited Lisa, the senior center, maybe a week or two ago, and she showed me the kitchen that they were working with, and she told me how many meals that they put out through COVID to help families. It's incredible what they could do with a commercial kitchen. I mean,
Right.
you wouldn't believe what they were doing with a normal sort of household kitchen. So meeting those needs as they're changing, as they are changing so quickly, as we think about what community services are important, is really what we're striving to do.
Great.
And I really think, we look at a lot of towns in the region. Uxbridge really is well situated to be kind of a hub for the region, I think. With all this, all the available property at McCloskey, just kind of being right next to the highway. And like Mike was talking about, the whole Blackstone Valley has this historical significance, and I think a lot of towns could, there's a lot of opportunity to build that out and help show that to the rest of the region and the state.
Yeah.
Great.
And I think Uxbridge is really well situated with just sort of all the different puzzle pieces that could come together if these projects are successful.
Great. Now let's get back. I just wanted, you guys mentioned the 23rd. That's October 23rd,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure we get
Week
that.
from Saturday.
Yes. So we'll get that information out and so on. So how do we wrap up this project? When you mentioned it's probably a year, maybe a year and a half away in
year.
regards to, in about a year and so on. So after you have this planning session with the community members, once again, you revamp all that information and then put out a report, and then eventually we'll get to the community?
Yeah, the intent of the 23rd is to present their findings and to show off some of the product that's come, like the Boston Architectural and a couple of the other things. But equally as important is to gauge the community sense. Are we, is this doable in terms
Right.
of are people going to support this? And it's the people that have responded to participate, good enough cross-section that they'll tell us.
Right.
And we'll walk away from that. And the intent is within 45 days of that Saturday, we'll issue a finding, I'll issue a finding report. And then some of that will become the framework of going forward. But that's
Okay.
all part of, there's all the dominoes in planning. It's
Right.
everything, you can't just sit around on any given Tuesday night and make it all up. There's lots of Tuesdays that go
I'm
into this.
sure there are.
So,
Very good. Is there anything else you gentlemen want to add?
No,
Did we
I
touch base?
think you can reach us on our website, CMRPC.
.org.
.org, yes. Or I think all this is probably posted on the economic development page too. So
Okay, that's
track
it.
the project there.
Right, and that's at Town Uxbridge.
Yeah, Town of
MA.
Uxbridge, and then go to Economic Development Community Planning page. And there's a lot. I mean, a lot. There's things about technical assistance and facade improvements and sense of place, public art. There's a lot of things. So
Great.
if you're really interested in what Main Street can become, there's a wealth of information to do your homework on before.
Excellent. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining
you.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Barry.
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
back.
Thanks for having us.
So I'm sure we'll have you back again.
I'll be
as-
back.
So,
I'll be-
all right,
I'm
great.
always
Thank you.
available.
All right, thank you very much for watching FYI Uxbridge. If you know anybody, or if you anybody that's interested in coming on the show to promote an event, or somebody in particular just want to come on and talk about what's going on in town, you can reach me at my email is bgiles@uxbridge-ma.gov. Or if you go to the town website, again, just look for Uxbridge Community TV. You can click on that link and we'll give you my contact information. Once again, thank you for watching. Have a great day.